I am someone who fully believes in the power of a can of paint. I went to Home Depot and I picked up like 1,000 paint swatches, and I spent 3 months really playing with combinations. I finally decided on the colors that I wanted, and we've done a complete apartment overhaul. There were some things that just really needed some TLC, and I think we got it. If you're new here, welcome. I am Alexis. I am a full-time artist here in New York City. I have a home studio in my Brooklyn apartment. Typically on this channel, I share my art and inspiration and activism and just snapshots of life here in the city. And so on today's video, I am sharing an apartment makeover, and I am really pleased with how it turned out. Without further ado, let's get into it. The kitchen was the very first room that I tackled in this apartment makeover, and I was thrilled to get going on it. And then, well, I hit my head. And I hit my head not once, not twice, but 3 times on this planter that we have hanging over our kitchen table. And after that, well, you know, I just really wanted to get it done. So I documented much less than I had originally hoped for, but I did get some of the trim, and I really do love how this room turned out. The very first time I painted this kitchen, I painted it a really beautiful yellow, and that lasted for a couple of years. And then I did what every millennial of a certain age did, and I painted everything gray. So then I went from this beautiful yellow to just this really calming, quiet gray that I actually did really love at the time. And we had that gray in our kitchen for the better part of a decade. And then in 2020, I saw wallpaper that I really liked, but I didn't want to drop the dollars because it was a pretty expensive wallpaper, and I was convinced that I could recreate it on my own. So I hand drew a stencil. I went and bought a ton of paint at the hardware store, and over the course of 5 days with 6 rolls of painter tape, I more or less recreated this wallpaper that I had fallen in love with that was available at West Elm. Would I do it again? You know, I've always said no, but as I'm thinking about it right now, I think I would, because I really do love how it turned out. And as I was choosing colors for this kitchen, I really wanted to find something retro, something that would go with this wall that I had hand painted previously. And I found this color, Classic Avocado, and it's just like this perfect, warm, rich green. And I think it complements what was already in this room really, really well. And I am just really thrilled with this ever slight but significant update to the kitchen. The living room is perhaps the room that has seen the most change over the years, and it was the next room that I tackled. When we first moved into the apartment, I was really nervous to use color. I had never had an apartment of my own that I could decorate, and there was a steep learning curve. When I first painted this room, everything turned out purple, much to my dismay. I don't know why I thought it would be different, but the running joke was that we ended up with a Prince-themed living room. And listen, I love me some Prince, but this purple living room was a little bit too much for my liking. And then in an attempt to bring in more color, I relied heavily on those millennial target products. And we had this iteration of our living room for maybe a year. But then I spent a lot of time on Pinterest because it still wasn't what I wanted, and it still wasn't what I had envisioned. And so then through Pinterest, I found this common thread of what my eyes were drawn to and what I wanted the space to look like. And then as our kitchen turned gray, our living room found its minimalist iteration. This was very much an Anthropologie West Elm living room, and I did love it while we had it, and it served us really well. It was a quiet escape from this loud city, but then, you know, like all good things, it comes to an end and we outgrow it. And in 2020, in the height of lockdown, I really needed dopamine decor. And so our living room turned into this. And I loved it. But working from the kitchen table for a year and a half and staring at this wall, eventually it became a little bit too much and was a little too visually stimulating. And that is when we decided to do a complete overhaul, and we updated the couch, we updated the lighting, and we hung these 3 shelves, and we just kind of went dark. As dark as we were brave enough to go in this very small space. And I loved this version of our living room. But now I am ready for something a little bit lighter. In the living room, the 2 colors that were used were Behr paint. Once again, I used a color called Vine Leaf on the walls, which is just a little bit more vibrant. And I just brought in the classic avocado that I used on the trim in the kitchen to do the trimming in here. And I really like how that combination complemented one another in this space. A few days later, I took these prints that I have. They were my dad's mother's. They lived in a closet for 30 years. And then I pulled them out and put them on the bookshelf because I just think that they added a little pop of color and they're kind of fun, and I can get down with this vintage vibe, but I really wanted them to pop a little bit more. So I covered the glass so that I could protect the print, and I got to spray painting them. I chose a really bright red because I really wanted there to be a contrast in this space. All right, before anyone comes at me in the comments, I 10 out of 10 would not recommend spray painting in your apartment. You're gonna see me do things that, do as I say, not as I do. Don't do it. It creates such a mess, and I'm sure there's some sort of a hazard quality that comes along with it. So we put up these 3 shelves in our living room, but we thought that we could get away with just the 3 brackets on each of them, and the ends are kind of drooping. So we're gonna add another bracket on each end to kind of support the ends of them a little bit better. But I need to paint them so that they match. I had all the windows open, I had a fan. We don't have access to a yard, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it on the sidewalk because that's where people walk and they need to get around. I don't know what I'll do in the future, but this spray paint ended up everywhere, like all over the floor, everywhere. And then as a result, I had to spend an hour on my hands and knees with a magic eraser scrubbing the entirety of the floor because it was just bright pink. However, with that being said, I am really glad that I painted these frames because I think that they add just enough of a little interesting pop. So, 10 out of 10, would not spray paint in my apartment again, but I would paint the frames again. I am someone who definitely likes to think that I can do things all on my own and be hyper independent, but it's really nice when I don't have to be. And in fixing these shelves that we had hung back in 2022, thinking that we could get away with just those middle brackets. I'm really glad that Mario was available to help tackle that job. There's no way that I could have done that on my own. And in this living room for the past 13 years, I have stared at these two doors and they have driven me nuts. On Mario's closet, when we moved in, the landlord had just splashed white paint all over it. And so we had this door with white splotches that was just an eyesore. And I did not know what to do with it. I didn't know how to fix it, but I found these wood repair pins on Amazon and they worked surprisingly well. I could see where they had tried to fix it at one point with something very similar, but they did not finish the job, nor did they do it very well. And listen, this is not a perfect solution, but it definitely got the job done. And when I'm sitting on the couch, I can't see where these paint splotches were, and I realized that I should have done this much, much sooner. You're gonna see a lot of things in this video that I do that I would perhaps not recommend for yourself. One being using nail polish remover to get writing off of a door. It worked. It definitely got the job done, but I think that there might have been a better way to tackle this. But for 13 years, we've had this permanent marker writing on the door, and I don't know, man. I really want this space to be well cared for, and I want it to be nice, and I'm so grateful that we've had this home for as long as we have, and I really hope that we can have it for as long as we need it. While I don't recommend using nail polish remover, the finished product on this door, I tell you, it's night and day. And I'm just really, truly thrilled with how this living room turned out. Now I want bright and colorful and cheerful, and just bringing in some of that new paint into the space really livened it up, and it created a more joyful place to exist and create and build, and I am just really so thrilled. So we've been slowly going through and updating this entire apartment, cleaning, getting rid of anything that is not needed, and painting, giving it a refresh. And today is the day for the bedroom. Go ahead and get started with this bedroom. I'm hoping I can get it done today. But I last painted this in 2020 in the middle of lockdown, and our wall is vertical Morse code of our song, which is You and Me by Penny and the Quarters. But I'm ready for a change. So I'm gonna paint the trim, and I'm gonna paint these two walls and the door that's behind the dresser, because that is a hallway door. And when we first moved in, the entire apartment was this glossy off-white, and you could see where it had been spackled. But like I've said, we've been in this apartment for I don't know, since 2011, so 13 years. The walls have been painted many times, but I'm really excited. I've never painted this fireplace, so that's gonna get done today. We'll see, but let's get going because it's gonna take a minute. So you might have noticed a theme here that when we first moved into the apartment, I was playing it really safe. I wasn't sure how long we were going to be here, and so when I first painted the bedroom, I chose this really, really icy blue, and we had that for a handful of years. And then in 2016, I really wanted that moody bedroom. I think this color was actually called Brooklyn, and it was a bare marquee paint, and I loved it. I loved it so much. It created such a quiet, dark space to kind of hide in at the end of a long day, and it served us well for a very long time. And then, in the height of lockdown in 2020, I decided to change it, much like our kitchen and our living room, where we saw a lot more pattern and more of a maximalist vibe, if you will. I changed the bedroom and I did this vertical Morse code, You and Me, which is our song, as I mentioned. And if you've not yet heard that song by Penny and the Quarters, I recommend you go find it on YouTube and you listen to it because I love it. But I was once again really ready for a change. And I thought I was going to be able to get this bedroom done in one day, but I grossly, consistently underestimated how long it takes to paint trim. We got most of the trim and the fireplace done on day 1, and then we tackled the rest of it on day 2. And on day 2, I had to move quite a bit of furniture, and behind my dresser is where I keep all of our extra art and what have you. And this is the sign that has seen better days. But this was my sign from the Women's March, and it is actually what started Paper for the People. So you're getting a little bit of a peek into my history here. In the bedroom, both of the colors that I used were Behr paint. I used Pine Brook on the trim and on the doors and the fireplace, and then on the walls I used a color called Siam Gold. And Siam Gold, it's a really interesting color because on paper it reads very gold, right? But then when you put it on the wall in certain light, there's this really cool green that comes out of it. And so I really love how this color turned out, and I really love the pairing of Siam Gold and Pine Brook. It just is a really interesting combination. And although I really wanted to kind of quiet down the bedroom and make it a little bit less wild than than the Morse code, I really do believe in creating spaces that are interesting and fun, and I think this color combo really did it for me.
Couldn't put a price on
bedroom is done. And it took 2 days of non-stop painting, but I am really thrilled and I really love the color combination in here. Alright, so I got the bedroom all painted and put back together, and I ordered some red spray paint because I keep seeing this idea of, I think it's called like the unexpected red theory. I don't know, it's on TikTok, but it's just this idea that like if you have pops of red in a space, it can just make it more interesting. And so I'm gonna try it. And I have this piece that we have in our kitchen. An Instagram friend, her name is Lizzie Christian. Her handle is Rare Press. She does really incredible block printing, and one huge block print. And then she did a limited run of them, and I was lucky enough to get one of them, and I really love this. But I'm going to paint this frame red because I really think it's gonna be fun in here to have a red frame. I'm gonna get this done, and I'm gonna get it back and hanging. And then I'm gonna call it a night because it's been a really, really full day. Day 2 at the bedroom. And yeah. And I will definitely have to take a magic eraser to the floor. And with the frame being painted, the kitchen is completely done. When I first painted the fireplace, I thought that I was just going to keep it wall, this classic avocado. However, I wanted something just a little bit different. I wanted there to be a contrast. And so on the largest part of this fireplace, what I ended up doing was pulling in the color from the back wall in the living room, and I put that on the fireplace. On the inside of the fireplace, that's where I put the avocado, and I really love it. I really love having those two colors in such close proximity, and I think it just added enough of the pizzazz that I'm really desiring at this point in my life. And if this ain't a landlord special, I don't know what is. When they repaired our bathroom ceiling after some pipe repairs, this is what we were left with. And it has been like this for the better part of a year, and it has driven me absolutely nuts. And so I decided to fix it because, you know, I like to fix things. And so I bought some mud and I got busy repairing it myself. And when I was thinking about how I could update this bathroom, I really wanted to keep it pretty simple. I actually love having white walls in here. I've tried a bunch of different things, and I like the white because it's such a small space and there's such a small little window. But I used the cyan gold that we used on the walls in the bedroom to paint the trim. And then I used vine leaf, the color that's on the wall in the living room and the fireplace in the kitchen. I used that to paint the medicine cabinet. I really love just how these greens all kind of work together and can be mixed and matched for these visually interesting spaces. And I think it goes to show that you can get really creative with, like in my case, I bought 4 greens. So I bought 4 gallons of this green paint, and I just used it in different combinations and in different iterations throughout the space. And it ties it all together, it makes it feel really cohesive, but in that mixing and matching, it keeps it from getting too boring. When we first moved into this apartment, the bathroom was the one room that I was brave enough to do color in. And so I painted it, I think it was like peacock blue or something. And it was like this for a minute, but then it just felt really dark. And so when I did that millennial makeover and I made the kitchen gray and I added that gold flowered wallpaper in the living room, I painted our bathroom with gold stripes. And I loved it. I really did. I thought it was so cute. And then after I painted the wall in the kitchen, I decided to go back to completely white in the bathroom, and I added these polka dots. And I had those for probably about 2 years, and then the walls have just been white since then. So I'm actually really excited with how this green is making the space feel, and it's adding just enough to make the room feel lively without overwhelming it and making it feel too dark. And now we're in the room that is the bane of my existence. The office. This room is Mario's home recording studio, and it's kind of a catch-all. We live in 500 square feet, so it's a really small space, and with 2 creatives, we end up with a lot of supplies and a lot of materials and equipment, and so, we make do the best we can. And like many people in New York, we ended up with this expedite shelf, and it has been in a few different places in the apartment, but I really think that this is the best spot for it. And it holds all of my extra art supplies, it holds all of our extra records, and it holds all of Mario's recording and engineering equipment. And so this is perhaps the equivalent of like a garage. I don't know, but this shelf, although it drives me nuts because at times it feels like it's just gonna like collapse into the room and like suffocate us, it really does hold all of the things that we need to sustain our creative existences here in the city. And so if you have a better solution, I'm all ears, but for now, this shelf, for better or for worse, is going to be what we use. But cleaning the shelf off, oof, there's a reason why this room has only ever been painted that one time, and it was painted, you probably guessed it, it was painted gray. But I have been wanting to get in here and freshen it up for a long time, and now is the time to do it. And about here is where I hit a wall, and I tagged Mario in, and he finished the shelf and was able to go through some of the stuff that he had on it. And then I spent some time going through all of the art supplies that I had acquired since I started this practice in 2018, and I was able to get that organized and get rid of scraps that really just aren't useful, and put together a donation bag that I am thrilled to say that as soon as I set it out on the street, within 10 minutes somebody had snagged it. So I'm always really thrilled when things that I no longer have a use for, others find use in. I didn't feel like anything went to waste here. And it felt really good to finally get in there and get all this organized. Alright, I am currently sitting on a sewing machine in our kitchen. The office has been completely cleared out. We thought originally that we'd be able to do it all in one day. Clear out the office, I'd get it painted, and then maybe the next day we'd be able to put it back together. But we underestimated how many things 2 creatives have. So it actually ended up taking the greater part of yesterday afternoon and evening. But now we are ready to get painting. So I'm gonna put on my paint clothes, I'm gonna pin this hair back, and I am pretty confident that I'm gonna be able to get this office completely painted today, and by tonight we will be able to start putting it back together. I just need to get going. I have like a system where when I'm painting the trim on one half, I'll paint the walls on the other while it's drying, flip-flop, right? That's the plan. So let's get this office done. I have been waiting for this for like so long, and it hasn't been touched in a decade, a little over a decade. So I'm confident it's gonna feel really good when it's done. So let's go. So I've used the same white in like the entire apartment. It just makes it really easy, and there's like a spot in the neighborhood that I can go and get it. This is really thick. It's like really thick. I think it's from 2 years ago. I don't know if paint expires, but I had like 1/3 of a gallon, so I'm gonna use it as the base coat, like the primer, if you will, and then I'll go over it with the good stuff. But I don't know how well this is gonna work out, but I'm crossing my fingers that it'll at least do some of the job. But let's see what happens. All right, now I'm halfway done. I forgot that I have to count that second coat. And it honestly might take a 3rd coat in some spots. I'm not really sure. I think that this trim is dry enough, so I'm gonna start trimming these other 2 walls so we can start painting those. And then when the white is dry, I'll do the trim over there. But it's 3 p.m. This is it. This is the last room. So let's do it. I cannot tell you how excited I am that we're doing this and that it's going to be updated and just bright and fresh, clean and ready for new life. But I'm going to get set up and I'm going to find a different podcast because this one is not doing it for me. And maybe I want to turn on some music. I think I need some music, but I'm going to move you over here maybe, and I'll be right back. Ish. Where's my phone? The hardest part about painting an apartment as old as this one is that no edge is smooth. So there's like all these extra layers and gashes and the way that the building is settled. So even like where the walls meet in the corner, it's all wobbly. So even though I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist, you have to just totally like let go of that and let the wall just do what it's gonna do. I know that maybe it just adds a little bit of character. But like, there's all these like extra crumples. Here, I'll take a video with my phone. So like all these extra zigzags, you know? And then they've painted on the floor, or caulked it, I'm not sure what, but it's all just really uneven. And so like you can definitely see the caulk underneath what I've painted, but you know, whatevs. It's a over 100-year-old building. And you can see like that edge right there, right? So that's part of the wall, and then below it is the trim. So definitely not a perfect job, but it's a job. And in the office, we used the classic avocado that we have on the trim in the kitchen and in the living room. We just brought that right back on into the office. This is Mario's space, and this is where he does all of his work. So I have my little corner in our living room that I am so grateful for, and I am so grateful that he has this room to do all of his audio work in. And so I really wanted it to be a space that he felt comfortable in and that he could kind of continue to make his own even when my art supplies take over. And so he chose this avocado green, and I really love how it partnered really well with the other color that he chose. He chose a really light purple called Silver Chalice, which is a Glidden color, and then I just used the white that I have in the rest of the apartment, which is, I think it's Benjamin Moore, and it's just called Frostine. And so we have the classic avocado, the Silver Chalice, and Frostine in this space.
Oh, I'll never forget you. Oh, I'll never forget you, baby. I'll never forget.
Alright, it is 6:06, and I said I would hope to be done by 5, so it was only an hour longer than I thought it would be. It is done, minus a very few touch-ups, and I know I'll have to go around the door trims again because the door trims always take like 3 coats, but this is done, and it's ready to be put back together. Mario's on his way home. I'm gonna shower, we're gonna eat, then I might do some little touch-ups, and then we'll put this room back together, and I am thrilled. So it's time for me to go wash off. And the office is done. We spent the rest of that night really working to get everything back in place and organized, and really thoughtfully going through what we still need and what we perhaps don't need. And I really am just so thrilled with how it came together. And an aspect that I really love about the trim and doing the trim in the doorways is when 2 spaces meet. Here in the office, we have the pine brook on the bedroom side, and we have the avocado on the office side. I love how these 2 colors complement one another when they meet up in the door frame. Alright, so we are just about done with this entire apartment makeover. We still have the bathroom to finish. I remeted the ceiling and I sanded it, and I didn't get any of the sanding done because it was really messy, and I figured it would get the camera equipment just absolutely covered in dust, and I am glad I did not film it because everything was covered in dust. I wore glasses and a mask, so I was mostly protected, but it was a thing. And then today I painted it, and once again I would have filmed that, but my painting clothes were in the wash, so I did it in my underwear, and I didn't want to film that. But Mario is scraping firecrackers. Mario, geez Louise. Somewhere in Brooklyn. Mario's scraping the shower currently because my shoulders are really tired. I'm hypermobile, so like things slip out of the socket, and my shoulders have been getting a tremendous workout, and I'm really grateful for that, but they are tired. So we decided to tag team the shower, which is great. He is scraping all of the old caulk out. I mean, it's just, when they were doing the construction on the apartment below us, our building is so old that they had half of it on like actual foundation supports, I guess, and then the other half of our basement the building was just held up by like tree trunks, and they went in and they took all of the tree trunks out, and I guess they re-leveled the building, but in doing that the bathtub has just totally settled differently, and all of the caulk split, so it has been in dire need of fixing. So we're gonna fix that, get that done, and I think that's it. And then front to back, this entire apartment has been updated, and it's feeling really good, and it's been about a month start to finish. 10 out of 10 though would do it again, because I really do believe in creating a space where newness can come in, and creating a space where there's just like a good energy. So eventually I will go through my dresser and my closet and what's under the bed. Those are the last 3 things that need to be done. But I'm gonna do that sometime in July. I'm gonna do that sometime next month, give myself a little bit of a break. And then whatever I don't want from dresser, closet, under the bed, I'm gonna donate to the mutual aid organization here in the neighborhood. But I'm gonna go get to this caulking, and we're gonna call this apartment finished. I've never caulked before. I don't know if I didn't cut the hole wide enough on the actual tube of caulk. I was afraid that I was going to make it too large and it would just kind of blob everywhere, but it was quite difficult. And there are 2 things that could have caused this. 1, I either didn't cut the hole large enough, or 2, my hands were just really tired, because this was the very last thing that we did. I don't know about you, but when I use my hands too much, they get really tired and things could become a little bit more challenging. So I was really struggling to get the caulk out here at the end, but you know, I'm really proud of myself, because just like the remudding and the sanding of the bathroom ceiling, I'd never caulked before, and so it just felt really good to do the repairs in this space with our own hands, and it just felt really good to pour back into this home that has held us through so much of life's transitions. And And here is the bathroom ceiling completely done. I don't know if you remember how wobbly it was, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. This kitchen bathroom transition with the cyan gold and the avocado is just another combo that I really, really love. Alright, now that the apartment is done, I am ready to get back out into the city. And I don't know if any of you noticed my painting shirt that I wore throughout this entire video, but it is a shirt from Betty Smith, and she is a tremendous performer here in the city. Mario has worked with her for the last handful of years and recorded the vocals on her latest album, and she had a show at the Mercury Lounge, so we were very lucky to be able to go to that and enjoy her set. She is just a phenomenal performer, and I am reminded so often just how much I love living in New York City and how much I love how many artists and creatives are here just doing their thing, building a life, and sharing their art with everyone. So this was a phenomenal show. If you have not yet heard of her, I would highly recommend you find her on whatever streaming platform you prefer. And if you made it this far in the video, I want to thank you for spending your time with me. I'm truly so glad that you're here. We have a very small and growing community here on YouTube, and I am just so thrilled that each and every one of you are here. Typically, I share my art and life in New York City, so thanks for spending time with me as I poured into this home that allows for two creatives to exist in a city such as New York. If you would like to follow along on my art journey and life in the city, I would be truly honored if you subscribed. And if you found enjoyment in this video, I would really appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. That helps YouTube know to send it out to people who might also find enjoyment or value here. But thank you so much for being here. And lastly, whatever time of day you've watched this, I hope it's been a kind one. Until next time.